MarzGurl.
And I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 40 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover episode 40 of City Hunter, titled One Sexy Partner, After Shower Compensation.
I almost thought it said One Sexy Panther.
No, Sex Panther is that cologne from Anchorman.
Anchorman, yeah.
40% of the time,
it works every time. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I never finished watching that movie.
Really?
No, I specifically remember I went out with the guys to go see it once, and one of them was having a very bad night with his girlfriend, and we all had to go tend to him.
I very specifically remember I had a high school classmate who was working at the movie theater in New Braunfels, and then I went to go pick him up before he was finishing work, and Anchorman was playing that day, and he's like, alright, I'm not supposed to do this, but come on back up to the projector room. And he took me back up into the projector room, and he's like, this is my favorite part of the movie right here, and it's specifically when, like, who is it, Jack Black that's in the car with him, and he just throws his dog out the car window. Now this is happening. Throws this dog out the car window.
I don't remember that part. If it happened after the midway point, I didn't see it.
Okay, all I'm saying is I should not have been in that projector room, but I was. For Anchorman.
Well, I imagine that's been at least 20 years, so what are they going to do to you?
Probably nothing. I don't even think that movie theater has the same management. None of this has anything to do with City Hunter.
No, none of that has anything to do with today's episode. Today's episode has to do with insurance.
Oh boy.
The exciting world of insurance.
You know, the topic of the episode itself is, like the plot is kind of okay. It's alright. It's an alright City Hunter episode, but that is not what we are here for today. There are so many little things that the animators thought, haha, we got 'em. And, like, you're never gonna know until one day, 30 years later, you have this show on Blu-ray.
So you think you're here to hear us talk about Rio and Cowdy's partnership, and we're gonna do that, but we're actually here to talk to you about subliminal messaging.
Buy M&Ms.
What?
Josh, you want some M&Ms?
You know, suddenly I do, and I don't know why.
Yeah, we didn't buy any this week.
Not this week.
Oops.
It'll probably affect us next week.
Probably.
So to go ahead and get into the episode, we start with a robbery happening at the home of one Daizo Kinugawa, a real estate magnate who happens to be in possession of a very rare and beautiful diamond called Cleopatra's Smile.
It's a really big diamond. That's all it is. It's just really friggin' big.
Now that we got that out of the way, it's the next day. Like, that's as quick as they cover it, and that's as quick as we're covering it.
Yeah, so Kaori's reading the newspaper, and she's like,
The next morning, yeah.
Cleopatra's Smile is gone, and it's worth how many millions of
1.5 billion yen.
1.5 billion, excuse me. It's a very large diamond.
Very expensive.
But I did not spend most of my time paying attention to the diamond. What I saw was literally 6 frames of subliminal M&M messaging.
Okay, so Cowdy is reading this news about Cleopatra's Smile out of the newspaper, and she puts the paper down as she's kind of narrating to herself about, oh man, I envy the burglar for taking that expensive diamond.
The shot is her putting the newspaper down, and like the M&Ms are at the bottom of the paper.
A very large, like, quarter-sized ad on this newspaper page. And it's like you said, 6 whole frames.
If we're talking about, and not necessarily like frames of animation, but more like if this show is very likely 2398, so 24 frames per second, as most US television is, and Japanese television is 24 frames per second, okay? Meaning, we went frame by frame to count broadcast television frames. 3 of those frames are the M&M's logo in full view, okay? And the next 3 frames are barely like a quarter of the M&M's.
Just the top of the M's can be made out.
And that is it, and then it's gone. It is gone. And I'm just like, that's it, there's M&Ms right there.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't see anything. And then she's like, enhance. And we go back and it's like, oh my god, how did you even catch that?
I don't know.
Because you gotta think about that. That is 1/8 of a second, all right? People back then would not have caught that. Surely not in the poor resolution that 80s televisions were in at the time.
Well, yeah, because you're talking about a tube TV, in which case it's having to project lines of color, okay, interlaced. It would have been so fast.
It's incredible the amount of detail that they went into just to make sure you were interested in buying some M&Ms.
I'm just sitting here wondering, okay, Mars Company, company, did you get what you paid for when you were like, I'm gonna take out advertising space in City Hunter, and it's literally 6 frames. In fact, I think as far as frames of animation, it's 2. It's 2 frames. The M&M's logo in full view, and then the M&M's logo in partial view.
Right.
And then it's gone. That's it. It's gone.
I just don't believe it. I'm like, I have to. I saw it. I went through the frames too. It's just crazy that they're doing that. Now, mind you, that's us as the 2 people who are hosting this podcast focusing in on that. Cowdy is focused on the diamond. Rio, on the other hand, is focused on that ass. So Rio very blatantly, while Cowdy is talking about all this, says, don't care, I'm looking at something. And Cowdy's like, well, what are you looking at? And 2 kilometers away over in Hotel Sun City.
So this is just barely over a mile away. Mind you, now we know how far away Hotel Sun City is. It's actually very close.
Yeah, they're just like right around the corner from Hotel Sun City, which we've been to multiple times.
Anyway.
But Rio is looking at this woman clad in just a bikini looking very hot, and Cowdy's ready to punish Rio, and does.
But Rio's like, no, you look at her.
And mind you, as Rio is looking through this telescope, he's also got this woman that he's looking at on the phone right now. She is aware that he is looking, and Cowdy gets a hold of the telescope, looks through, and on the back of her bottoms of her bikini are written out the letters XYZ. This is her way of contacting City Hunter along with the phone call. Like, one or the other probably would have been okay, but she went the extra mile. I've got phone confirmation with you, Cowdy, that I am in fact trying to contact City Hunter, albeit not through the usual means over at Shinjuku Station. And Rio, you know what, this is just a little extra service to make sure you're looking.
So they rush on over to Hotel Sun City, and so this lady, she's given her name over the phone.
Yes, her name is Aya Misaki.
And she's just like, yeah, I knew what was gonna work with you to get your attention.
I've done my homework, and I know everything about both of you. And Rio's like, oh, so you are also a woman of taste, meaning that he appreciates the view.
He was like, you understand my higher tastes.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Higher taste. Well, like his way of saying, oh, you realize that I am a man of culture.
You realize that I am an ass man.
Yes.
You have learned I'm an ass man. Good job, ma'am.
Well, really, he's an everything man. He's an ass man, he's a leg man, he's a boob man. He just appreciates the female form.
Which is not great, but, you know, she said, okay, please look at my ass, and it worked.
So Misaki tells them, well, look, I'm here obviously with a job offer. I want to make sure that you guys want in on this. And Rio says, well, if you've done your homework, you know I think you're hot, so I'm gonna say yes.
And Cowry's like, wait a minute, we're not gonna say yes when we don't know what the job is. But Lady Ma'am is like...
She flips it on her. Like, oh, of course, I would never defer away from you, Cowdy.
You're the one that has to actually make the decision about whether or not you take the job, right? And extends her hand to shake her hand. And Cowry's suddenly very flattered, like, oh, yes, of course, all that goes through me.
Great, so we're settled on it. We're working together.
Great, we still don't know what the job is. But
and Cowdy's like, just like, damn, I fell for it.
But she gets her like that several times throughout this episode by flattering Cowry, like, oh, we know you're the important one here, obviously. That happens multiple times.
Now, the job is very simple, all things considered. Once they've both agreed, we're gonna sign on, 1 for some sort of payment, and 2 for Mokkori time specifically for Rio, which he's very much looking forward to. We find out that Misaki has brought on City Hunter to help her with a robbery. Now, the robbery is going to take place at this building called Jewelry Manhattan, and she's got the schematics on this old-ass computer for them to look at.
They're like blueprints for this building and for a safe that they're gonna have to crack.
Yeah, down in the basement, right? So, we're looking at these schematics there on the computer.
And once again, I caught stuff that you didn't, and you're like...
It's not just that you caught stuff, you caught the mother load, alright?
Because I'm like, stop, there's stuff on this screen, and you're like, what are you talking about? How are you seeing this?
And again, they're on multiple screens because she's showing the layout of the building, the rooms, the safe, and we go through this within maybe about 10-15 seconds, and there's multiple shots, but we count this for 8 frames, repeating for each shot. Different English words appear on these schematics.
And then they're not always necessarily English. Some of the words are English. The rest of them are Japanese words spelled out in the Roman alphabet.
And that's where we start.
Because, like, you've seen this go around on Twitter sometimes, too, that it's especially popular in older anime. Like, Akira was a big one where there was, like, a whole paragraph that some really sad animator wrote out on some piece of equipment that basically was, again, it's in the Roman alphabet, so it's in our alphabet, but it's Japanese words that's saying something like, how long are we going to have to work on this scene in Japanese? So this came up a lot, okay? So Sunrise has done it again, and so the first frame that I caught, because I was like, the word sore, like my arm is sore, is up there, and A-R-E, like what are you doing? And then I realized, no, that's not what those words are.
So we see 4 words on screen, and written out, as we understand the pronunciation to be, sore, kore, are, dore.
Meaning, here, there, over there, and where? And it's pointing to different locations on this blueprint. As if, like, why would you put, like, you don't know what direction you're going on the blueprint, so you ask the question, where? Like, what direction?
Like, this is
Here,
Misaki
there,
making
over
her
there.
notes about where to go on the map.
And the notes are here, there, and over there. And I don't know where.
So that's the first screen. We go to the second screen, and now we're going into just English. Very top of the screen, another subliminal M&M's ad.
Just the letters M, ampersand, M.
Ampersand M-S.
Yeah, apostrophe S.
And then just to the right of it, the word passion. And then at the very bottom of the screen, wouldn't you know it, sunrise.
Why are these words on blueprints for this building? Like, I don't understand what they're doing there. But
you know
okay.
damn well what they're doing. They're showing off. They're sneaking stuff in because they can.
Oh, God, sunrise. But that's not the only screen. There's another couple of screens full of words. So then we get schematics for the safe that they're gonna have to bust.
Well,
right?
no, that's later. We've got 2 other screens before that.
That's right.
The next screen, it's the same screen that had the M&Ms and the passion, but now we've got different words. We've got escape, noisy, scoop, confusion, and komegumi?
I'm not sure what komegumi is. Like, I tried to look that one up, and I'm not really sure. But there's just words. They just picked random words, and they just put them around this building. Like, I would believe, though, oh, I have figured out this part of the building is noisy. Maybe this part of the building is confusion. Like, I'm confused. I'm confused over here. But, I don't know.
So then we look at the schematic in the basement, and so the first word we see there is kinko dayo.
Which is just, this is a safe. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then off to the side, nandesho.
What is it?
Then the word S-timer, I'm sorry, which probably refers to like the timer on the safe, which we find out later it's a time lock.
That is a plot relevant thing. Yeah, it's locked via, like, you're not going to be able to open it until the next day. You don't find that out until later, but like we were just like S-timer, I guess they're just using words, whatever.
And then shomen dayo.
Which is like the front.
This is the front of the safe.
It's the front.
Yeah, because it's blatantly over the cover of the safe.
That's so goofy.
So we go to the last frames that we see other words written on. So first, when we see a misspelling here, what they were trying to say is kotetsu, meaning iron, but they spell it as kotestu.
Yeah, they just kind of effed up.
And then we see towards the bottom the words hirakegoma.
Which... Hirake means open, right? And so, and you're looking at it, it's the door to the safe. But Hiraki Goma is basically the equivalent of open sesame. It's so goofy.
And the last thing at the very bottom, wakanneyo.
Kind of slangy. I don't get it.
I don't understand.
I don't get it. Like, just...
all of these.
Just buried in these blueprints, and you figure, oh, these Japanese people watching it just flash by real fast, they're not gonna sit here and try and figure it out. Romaji is, they can read Romaji, obviously, but it's not their preference, really. So it would take them a second to really be like, what does that say? And by the time they're thinking about it, it's already gone.
Yeah.
It's way past gone by that point. But here we are.
35 years later.
2022, on Blu-ray, going frame by frame. Hirakegome, open sesame, on blueprints for a safe? Okay. Super goofy.
I see you, Sunrise. I see you. So we go through all that to say it's going to take a lot to get into this safe. That is what Misaki is trying to tell Ryo and Kaori. And so they're like, all right, well, I get why you hired us. You've already got it all figured out, but you need my firepower to get in there. All right, to the armory.
And And they get there back to their apartment building, which we already know the apartment building has basically a gun range at the bottom of it. But not only that, it's an entire weapons dealer, okay? Just a whole weapons shop.
A Bass
store.
Pro Shop gun store down there, and he's got everything. Every gun you could imagine down there.
He has multiples of every gun down. Like, I don't think we've seen the entire armory before, but now that we're really getting a good look at it, everything is here!
Yes! He's got Uzis, he's got handguns, he's got rifles, he's got hunting rifles, he's got shotguns, he's got M4s. He's like, Cowdy, go get the rocket launchers. No, the good one.
And she runs up to a line of like 4 bazookas.
3 bazookas.
Yeah. And what else was there on that rack?
For no discernible reason, up at the top on this rack of handguns, we see a box for Ray-Bans.
And I was like, hey Josh, look, an advertisement for Ray-Bans. And you're like, how are you catching these?
Now, admittedly, the Ray-Bans are there longer, and you can see them pretty easy.
Yeah,
but it's like,
why does he need... So, amongst all of these weapons, he's also just got a box full of high-end sunglasses.
like, why does he need the Ray-Ban? Like, we never see him wearing sunglasses, ever.
Well, okay, I know of one gif that gets around of him, like, tilting some sunglasses down.
Isn't that from the opening? Like, one of the openings?
One of the later openings or something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's just like, he's got so much crap down here. Like, I'm surprised I didn't see a 50 cal down there.
It's probably in there somewhere.
It's probably there. He's got, like, a barrel full of dynamite
somewhere
down there.
in the back, like, he's got several cases full of multiple handguns. Like, so many copies of so many handguns in, like, at least 2 separate gun racks, okay, behind glass.
Right, so it's like, how much money is he putting into this? Like, I imagine this is one of those jobs that he did get paid for at the very end. Like, they both got paid. Like, how much of that goes to restocking? Because he does use quite a bit of munitions this week.
I don't know, but once again, don't forget, we figured that Mokkimura was quite possibly holding this whole operation down. How much of this is just left to him now after Mokkimura passed away?
I don't know, because I guess you could say that it's our headcanon that Mokkimura worked on the books and Ryo did the dirty work.
Entirely possible, and now all of this is Ryo's, but at the same time, if he's using the stuff, he's got to also maintain and replenish ammo.
But this is the thing that we're seeing throughout the episode, which kind of feeds into that headcanon, is that Cowdy knows exactly where to go in the armory. So she's gotten used to being down here now.
Yeah.
And Misaki picks up on that, like, oh, you must really have a lot of faith in her to know which weapon to pick out. Ryo's trying to downplay this, like, oh, no, yeah, she's just here because, she's my old partner's little sister. It's nothing big.
Which Kaori really is not fond of listening to and puts this bazooka up against the back of his head.
Like, what'd you say, ho? And he's like, no, you're my partner. We're good.
Uh-huh.
So they head off to the jewelry store, over to Jewelry Manhattan, and we see that Misaki's still trying to work around the two of them. Like, she's working Ryo, making sure that he's significantly more worked up than normal, but not enough to pounce. And then she's also trying to butter up Kaori, playing up her role as City Hunter's partner. Now, it is worth noting that we're back in the mini this week.
Yeah.
As an example of this, Ryo is saying, okay, we're going to go in here. We're going to take care of business. Cowdy, I need you out here in the car. And she's like, why? Because you want to hit on Misaki? He's like, no, we need a getaway driver. Misaki, I should say. She's the one saying, oh, you're so smart. You're so reliable to be the getaway driver. And she's doing this laugh.
She's done this like 3 times now, where she's really buttered up Kaori, and Kaori like takes the bait, and she's like, oh, well, you know how badly he needs me, because he can't do anything on his own. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Like that kind of, you hear it a lot, the, what do you call it? The Obasan laugh, that, oh, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, that's not quite the laugh.
Not quite.
This is more giddy than that. This is not the super overly proud. This is like she would be willing to cover her mouth while she laughed. Those people you're talking about with the side hand thing are boastful laughing.
Oh, no, you're right.
Kaori is not boastful laughing.
No, her face looks more
like she's
happy.
She's trying to hold back how flattered and how important she feels now. Is just trying to hold back and showing it off very visually.
And that's part of the interplay that we see a lot this episode, of her going back and forth facially, of being really annoyed and really flattered. Oh, I didn't want to miss that. Earlier when they were first meeting with Misaki, she gives Ryo this like look like, what the hell's wrong wrong with you. And Ryo looks very, very stoic, very heroic, you know, the way he's got the chiseled face. And the two of them, the difference between the animation on them, Ryo, to me, looked like he came out of Go Lion or Voltron. And Cowdy had this face, because remember, this is Sunrise animating, so they're the same people who do Mobile Suit Gundam. Cowdy looks like Bright Noah.
Yeah.
From Mobile Suit Gundam.
Because mind you, every single other character in Mobile Suit Gundam has pretty normal eyes, like really big, doughy eyes. And then for whatever reason, Bright just has like 2 lines and a dot for a pupil.
And no whites.
And no whites of his eyes. Like really weird looking by comparison to everybody else. It was a really goofy looking face. And it's only there for a few frames, but it's funny. It's cute.
So as Baby I Want Your Love starts playing, Ryo and Misaki make their way into the jewelry store. They knock out some of the guards with gas bombs and make their way over to the main room where there's a dude with a gun and the owner of the store whose name is Machida, but that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, because we're only going to see him for about another 60 seconds.
At best.
And he's like, haha, you're not gonna get down to our safe. In fact, what safe? There's no safe here. Are you sure about that? Because I've got a grenade here that says you do have a safe. Here's a grenade.
Oh, crap. And then the first grenade goes off, and she's like, you know, I got a second one here. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll take you down there. Don't do it. And so they go down to the safe, and dude's trying to tell him, look, there's a time lock on here. You gotta wait till the day after tomorrow to get in. There's no point in you being down here.
I guess you're just gonna sit and wait until the day after tomorrow. And Ryo's like, I guess I am. Or...
I believe you can't get in there until the day after tomorrow, but my bazooka begs to differ.
And the bazooka works.
And the bazooka, you know, the bazooka won the argument. It blows the door wide open, and they get in there and they find the diamond from earlier in the episode that was stolen.
And they leave. It seems like everything has worked out okay. Kaori is the getaway driver now. She's driving the Mini Cooper with the two of them in the car, and they've got the diamond, and it's a big old diamond. It's huge.
Right, same diamond from before, and Misaki confirms, oh, they're not going to call the cops on us. And Ryo's like, all right, I kind of figured this is what was going on. That store, that's a front store for smugglers, isn't it? Misaki's like, yep. And Ryo's like, ha, I knew it. So, like, now that we're done, right? Mokkori payment. How's that working out right now? Can I get an advance? Can I get some of that?
But
Mokkori thighs.
They're interrupted by bullets.
So this mini that we just got didn't last very long. The back windows are blown out.
Back and front. Like, the bullets
you're right.
Yeah, they go through both the back window and the windshield.
The back and the front, they're both gone.
I don't think this car has been totaled. I think he needs to replace the windows, and that's about it.
We'll go over that in a little bit here, but Ryo does return fire. These goons there from Jewelry Manhattan have given chase and are shooting at Cowdy, Ryo, and Misaki.
Kinda looks like they're in something that looks like a Buick. Hard to tell, but you know, it's that kind of a shape. Just this really big, rectangular looking car.
For Japan, it's an import car.
Yeah.
And so Ryo deftly takes them out and, wouldn't you know it, sends them careening right into the nearest police station.
Very convenient.
And that's at the halfway point. Like, that's at the eye catch.
It's basically like we've already solved the problem this week.
Yeah, like, basically. That's it, right? Like, we're done here.
Except no, because there's still half an episode to go. So, Ryo and Misaki still have to have Mokkori time. I mean, at least that's what Ryo believes. So they off having dinner.
And at dinner, she's telling him, all right, you know, cheers to us. So you know who I am, right? And Ryo's like, I think I've heard about you. I know there's a female sweeper out there who specifically works in insurance, and that's you, right? And she's like, yeah, specifically dude over here at the very beginning, Daizo Kinugawa, the guy who owned the diamond, he had a $2 billion insurance policy on that diamond. And it was set to pay out in 3 more days. So me getting it back means the insurance company doesn't have to pay out on that.
And we got him.
You know, she's real proud of this. Like, hey, so like we did some good quick work.
Yeah, like we could be partners.
And Ryo's like, yeah, partners about that. Can we be Mokkori partners? How about that?
That's really all he cares about. He's actually not really looking to replace Kaori. He's not really talking about it, but he's not really looking to replace Kaori.
He did the job, but overall, he only takes Misaki so seriously.
Yeah, he just wants to bang. That's really it. And so she's just like, okay, okay, we can do that. Let me just real quick.
Give me half an hour.
Go back to the hotel. I'm just gonna go take a shower, clean up. Come on, you don't want to see me all dirty. And he's like, okay, fine. Like, he falls for it because he's an idiot, because this is always how women get out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
This happens every time. I don't know why he doesn't just go, no, I think I better come with you if I'm actually going to get the. He never does that.
It's like he does it to himself. You would think he would have learned by now. And he's over here like, no, this time will be different.
It's part of what makes me believe there is entirely a possibility that he knows and he lets this happen every time. Like, he really convinces himself, oh, I'm just being a nice guy, and he just pretends that he doesn't know that they're going to just ditch him in some way.
Some part of him's got to enjoy it, though. Even if he's aware, that's one thing, but why do you keep doing it? Like, why are you playing yourself, man?
Either he enjoys it, or he knows there's only one woman for him in the back of his mind, and he's just not confronting it.
Cowdy. We're talking about Cowdy.
Yeah.
And so he's out here, like, he's let her go off to her room, and she's like, hold on to the diamond for me, it's fine. And he's like, all right, yeah. Like, he's talking out loud to himself about how much fun and Mokkori time he's about to have, and he doesn't realize that he's in a restaurant full of people, and they're all looking at him.
Yeah, like, maybe we don't want to hear that while we're having dinner over here, guy.
And I love right here his choice of diversion is just, oh, hey, so how about the news about the Persian Gulf, huh? And the funny part about that is, like, that joke is evergreen.
Yeah, there's never not something happening in the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, Misaki over here is just like, well, I see that his weakness is Kaori, and just for whatever reason, she's got it out for Kaori now?
Well, it's more like she's just kind of monologuing to herself, like, realizing, like, okay, well, if I work Kaori and get her to agree to certain things, I could get him to work with me, and she'll hold him back from advancing for Mokkori payment, and we could keep this going.
That's not what it seemed like to me. Did she say that expressly? Because
yeah, she said that very specifically. If I manage Kaori, I manage the Mokkori. Like, she has a plan to keep this partnership going. She's already got him pegged. She knows that Ryo has a weakness for Kaori, for whatever that means. I don't know if she realizes it's romantic in any way, shape, or form.
Or if she just thinks, oh, this is a partnership that's really important to him. So she has invited Kaori over to her hotel room, even though what's supposed to be happening is just the sexy times alone with Ryo.
No, that's exactly why she's invited her over, because if Ryo's going to quote-unquote cash in, that's why Kaori's supposed to show up to stop him.
Right.
Like, that's how she's got this set up.
Right, but that's what I'm telling you, is that that's what the setup is. She's invited her over, even though it's really just, as far as Ryo knows, it's just supposed to be the two of them.
Right, exactly.
So she's tricked him.
She's tricked both of them.
Yeah.
Is what's happened. Unfortunately for her, some of those other thugs from back at the jewelry store followed her to the hotel.
She hears a knock on the door and is like, oh, Kaori's here already. La la la. Opens the door. There's dudes there.
And then Kaori comes in like, wait a minute, why am I coming up here? I have to stop Ryo. He'll try to come up here. So she kind of is playing into that role that she knows she has, and for whatever reason, she's like, oh, I've taken it upon myself. I have to defend the women of the world from Ryo, which she is doing a noble thing. But she ends up getting herself caught.
All tied up and mouth taped closed.
And so here comes Ryo with the reused animation of him getting fired up.
As he's prancing down the hall.
He's like skipping like a schoolboy.
Busts in the door, like, oh, you've already got the lights off. I bet you're in bed. Here I come. And he dives in.
That Lupin dive again.
But Kaori is there on the bed, tied up against her will, and kicks him in the face.
And so both Kaori and Ryo are kind of like, what are you doing here? Because remember, they were both invited individually to be up here. But none of that matters right now because they get a call on the phone from the guys who have taken Misaki, being like, hey, you got the diamond? Bring it to this particular building, the Donkey Kong building.
The DK. They specified the DK...
building.
Okay, fine. Building.
Just the DK building.
And he's like, all right, I'm going to come down there. And so he gets Kaori free of her... Well, he really just kind of undoes her hands, and that's about it.
And then she unties herself. So they head back to the armory, and Ryo's going over this with Kaori, like, okay, so what exactly are we doing? And he's like, oh, well, we got to trade the diamond for Misaki, but you got to realize what's going on here. Guy from the beginning of the episode, Kinugawa, the reason this is all happening is he's gotten greedy. He wants the diamond back, and he wants the insurance money.
He wants to commit insurance fraud, is what he wants to do.
Exactly.
But meanwhile, in the background, Sunrise has pulled more bullshit. And
yeah, so there's this sign just off to the left on the screen of
like
Ryo's
on a
head.
box or something. something.
Right, exactly. And it's in Roman alphabet again.
And unfortunately, the bottom letters, you just can't make it out. It's just a little too blurry, but you can make out some little bit of nepotism in there.
Yeah, there's a name there, Nobuyuki Hirakawa.
Nobuyuki Hirakawa is great, and
then we can't read the rest.
Can't read the rest of it. So I don't know who Nobuyuki Hirakawa is. There is a Hirakawa that is listed in the production staff.
But we believe that's an Eiji Hirakawa.
I believe that's an Eiji Hirakawa, and I can't even find Eiji Hirakawa on the internet. I can't even find that guy, so I don't know who Nobuyuki Hirakawa is. But apparently we got a shout out to that guy. All right,
Nobuyuki Hirakawa.
Give it up for that guy. He's great. The
He's
animator
great.
thought that this guy was great, so that's good. I don't know if it was a shout out to a guy, like maybe this guy's brother or something. I don't know.
Or like it's his birthday, like, hey man.
Or maybe it is one of the animators, and we just don't have the full animation team listing.
Maybe. That's entirely possible. Because, like, who else is putting these jokes in here but the animation team?
Yeah, exactly. And they're just writing it in full English. That's incredible.
But shout-outs aside, Ryo explains to Kaori, alright, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go in there. I'm gonna go retrieve her, but I actually really need you tonight, Kaori. I need you tonight, but not that way. And so he's like, alright, here's what we're gonna do.
You're gonna take the bazooka. Alright, we're gonna leave it off there.
We're gonna leave it there. So we head over to the DK building. Ryo heads up in there, and he's like, alright, you might as well come out, Kinugawa. We know it's you. He's like, you do know it's me. And you know what I'm gonna do here, right? He's like, yeah, you're gonna try and kill us, right? Yeah, exactly. Picked a building that nobody would come into because it's under construction. He's like, okay, yeah, I already figured all that. You're kind of predictable. Quick question, man. Did you insure this building?
Why?
He's like, oh, no reason.
Meanwhile, Kaori comes busting in. She's like, I brought the rocket launcher. I found a really perfect beam.
Pillar.
Like a pillar that is not looking so great already. And let's take aim here and...
And Kaori takes out the central pillar that is holding up the entire building. So cue footsteps. And everybody's got to like haul ass out of the building.
Ryo and
Misaki
make it, but the other guys technically don't make it. And you're like, oh my god, we just murdered these people. But no, they're fine, I guess.
They're trapped under the rubble.
They're trapped under rubble and like behind glass that is not broken.
Yeah, they're trapped under rubble and technically nobody knows they're there.
What, you think they're just gonna leave them there?
I mean, they did try to murder Ryo just now. And Misaki.
Misaki's like, hey, how'd you know that was gonna happen? And how did you do that when you were in the room with all of us? And he's like, oh, because I had backup. And here's Kaori, and she's all dusty and dirty and doing a cool pose with a bazooka.
And Misaki's just genuinely in awe of them, like, oh my god, they're so good together. Wow.
Wow, there is no room for me here. They just need to do their own work. Jeez, I'm out. Bye. Immediately takes the first plane she sees.
She takes the first plane on Sunrise Air out of here. And I think you were saying this last shot that we get of the episode, this is a reused shot, I believe.
This is at least the second time, but I would dare say it's even the third time they've used it, at least.
Because we got Kaori in the yellow dress and tie combo.
Yeah.
But it's the lines right here specifically. First thing Kaori says, I wasn't expecting at all. She's like, I would have let you team up with her, which blows my mind.
Well, I think because she realized, also because she was buttered up by her.
Well, true. She spent the whole episode getting smoke blown up her ass.
I think that she realized this was a very competent person, and so she was just gonna trust that Ryo was never going to have the ability to try and bang her, because she's just too smart for that and just very good at her job.
True. But then it's the follow-up response that Ryo gives of like, no need. I already got a good partner. And her name's Kaori. And then you get wild right there.
Just very straightforward, actually, of him.
Like, that's high praise.
Yeah, he's not looking to replace her. He's really not.
Like, this is the most he's ever praised her ability as part of City Hunter. Mm-hmm. And this is actually the most capable we've ever seen her in the show.
Right.
Like, actually being part of the action. She's driving the getaway car. She's making sure Ryo's got all the equipment he needs. And she's actually using the equipment there in the episode.
You mentioned the Mini Cooper, right? So, like, we're saying that all of this happened in one night?
Well, yeah, like they get the phone call there in Masaki's room at Hotel Sun City, come to this building.
Well, what I'm saying is earlier in the night,
Windows.
The back window and the front windshield were blown out of the Mini Cooper, but then later they have windows again. So we're trying to discuss, is this an entirely different Mini Cooper, or did Ryo really quickly have these windows repaired?
Or is it just as simple as they forgot they shot out the windows?
Oh no, like, we've talked about this before. When this happens, it's definitely because the animators fucked up.
Right.
Okay, that's the
Okay,
actual...
just so we're clear on that.
No, that's the actual
Just so we're clear on
answer. That's the actual answer, but it has now created continuity that tells us either he's got another car, or he has very quickly been like, hey, before we go to dinner, let me just... Alright! Just popping some new windows in there. So I'm gonna say this car was not totaled.
You think he was just able to really quickly switch out both windshields?
Look how much stuff he has in that apartment building. You don't think he's just got replacement windows for the car somewhere down there?
I mean, I guess like we've discussed this on the podcast too. Hypothetically, he's also got like a garage with extra Mini Coopers or a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's really the thing of like, if we knew there was more damage, sometimes the animators take care to make sure, okay, well now they're in the Fiat, which happens sometimes. Or like the last couple of episodes, they're just using the Fiat, like they forgot he had a Mini Cooper. And so this week, yeah, it's just an animation continuity error, but where are we going with? You're saying
I think
it's the same
very
car.
Quickly replaced the windows.
I'm saying it's like some jokes where like it was just the most minor of damage, but he just replaced the whole thing anyway.
I don't know that he would necessarily replace the car, but rather take it back to the garage and just be like, look, I need a good clean one for the night, for the dinner date. So I'm just gonna park the car in the garage, the one with the window damage, and I'm gonna drive her out on the date in the good Mini Cooper, and I'll repair the other car later. Like, it's a minor enough damage that I don't think he just junked the whole car.
I think he junked it.
No, he wouldn't do that.
That's just where I'm coming from.
He wouldn't.
Because, like, we've seen him blow money on other stuff. Why wouldn't he blow money on the Mini Coopers?
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with that because we know from a later season how much he really just likes the Mini Cooper. I feel like when he can take care of the Mini Cooper, he does so.
Okay, well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that. I think it's one more to add to the count.
Which we said last week, remind us to count the Mini Coopers.
And nobody reminded us.
No, we didn't remind ourselves, so
this week we're
good
blaming
job,
you guys.
Josh.
What? I was going to blame the listeners. Why are you blaming me?
Good job, me.
Okay, good job, you.
Okay.
So next week's episode, we're going to see a new legacy character in the form of Sayako's little sister, who also happens to be into a dangerous business.
And sometimes she's there and sometimes she's not. She kind of comes and goes, and then you forget about her for a long time. And then,
so does the show.
And then yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then she pops back up sometime like 15 episodes later, and you're just like, oh. She exists, right. Oh,
like,
man.
It's like that line from Tombstone, like, Sayako's little sister. I forgot you were there. Yeah, like she's not that important. But funny enough, it's going to be a two-parter.
So she's important enough that you need to know she exists. And like sometimes you'll see her in the opening animations in future seasons. She's just kind of around.
Like much like I don't think we see her in the opening until like City Hunter 3.
Do we not see her in the Sarah opening?
No, that's Miki.
Is that Miki?
But we haven't introduced Miki yet.
Oh my god, you're not supposed to know who Miki is yet.
We'll get there.
I'm sorry.
The City Hunter 2 is going to be so good.
It is. City Hunter 2 is very good. That's where plot happens.
Yeah, a lot of plot. A lot of that.
Yeah. So come back next time when we cover the 41st episode of the TV series, Sayako's Little Sister is a Private Eye, Part 1, A Passionate Woman's Bold Secret.
If you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on Twitter. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 40th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna swing a log at Josh's head, Ewok style.
That is so inventive.